Most people focus on the moment sign-off happens. The board approval, the regulatory confirmation, the committee endorsement, the document stamped approved. But the real story doesn't start there. It starts the day after. Today, we're looking at what really happens after sign-off, when celebration fades, documentation gets archived, and responsibility quietly shifts. Because governance doesn't fail at approval, it fails in the silence that follows. Let's start with the moment everyone remembers. The boardroom feels calm, the decision is documented, the signatures are collected, the minutes are approved, the tone is confident, the presentation was strong, the risks were reviewed, the compliance officer nodded, legal confirmed alignment, audit had no major objections. At the time it made sense. It felt responsible, structured, thorough. Assumptions in that moment, the controls will hold, the team understands the implementation, the oversight framework is strong enough, the risks are manageable, the documentation protects us. And in that room, with slides polished and questions answered, it probably did make sense. At the time, this decision made sense. And that's important, because most governance failures don't start with reckless decisions. They start with reasonable ones. The day after, things still look fine. There is no chaos, no red alerts, no regulator knocking at the door. The project moves forward. Teams send confirmation emails, approved as discussed, proceeding per board resolution, documentation filed. There may even be early wins. A new partnership signed, a strategy implemented, a cost structure optimized, a new governance model rolled out. Reassurance spreads. The framework is working. The decision was the right call. We're aligned. And most of the time in the short term, they are. This section is important because governance issues rarely show themselves immediately. The system doesn't crack, it stretches. This is where the invisible shifts begin. The day after sign-off, behavior changes, subtly. Responsibility diffuses. Everyone assumes someone else is monitoring the risk. Documentation is stored but not revisited. Reporting becomes routine instead of reflective. Questions shift from, is this aligned with our governance framework, to, has this been signed off already? Pressure builds in quiet ways. Commercial urgency, deadline compression, stakeholder expectations, regulatory interpretation drift. Small compromises begin, nothing dramatic, just adjustments. We'll document that later. We'll update the policy next quarter. It's within tolerance. That wasn't explicitly prohibited. The trade-offs are minor, but they accumulate. And this is the core truth. Governance rarely collapses because of one bad decision. It erodes through small, reasonable adjustments after sign-off. The consequences don't arrive loudly, they arrive slowly. Months later, a regulator asks for evidence. Internal audit performs a review. An external event stresses the system. Suddenly, reporting gaps appear, oversight logs are incomplete, roles are unclear, documentation trails are inconsistent. It feels sudden, but it wasn't. Nothing broke overnight. It shifted, compounded, drifted. And because governance operates on trust and structure, drift is dangerous. By the time consequences surface, the sign-off feels distant, but the seeds were planted the day after. Most people don't ignore problems, they simply don't see them yet. There are psychological forces at play, cognitive bias. Once something is approved, it feels validated. We assume the hard thinking is done. Overconfidence. We stress tested this. We reviewed all scenarios. Process blindness. We monitor outputs, not behaviors. Emotional investment. Leaders don't want their decision to be questioned immediately after approval. Organizational inertia, challenging a signed-off framework, feels disruptive. And so small signals are rationalized, not ignored, just explained away. Which is why governance maturity isn't about preventing decisions. It's about monitoring what happens after them. Experienced governance professionals don't judge decisions by the moment they're made. They judge them by the first 90 days after sign-off. They ask, who owns monitoring? What metrics will change? What behavior must shift? What assumptions need retesting? What documentation must evolve? They expect friction. They expect interpretation drift. They expect human shortcuts. They monitor escalation frequency, control effectiveness, role clarity, documentation updates, regulatory developments. They don't celebrate sign-off, they operationalize it, because sign-off is not an endpoint, it's the beginning of accountability. This is what real oversight looks like. The lesson isn't don't act, the lesson is plan for the day after. One mindset shift, sign-off is phase 1, governance validation is phase 2. One framing principle, every approval should include a day-after plan, not just what we approved, but what we will monitor, what could drift, what signals will trigger review, when we will revisit assumptions. One long-term question to ask, if this begins to fail quietly, how would we know? That question changes everything. Most governance failures don't happen at approval. They happen in the days, weeks, and months that follow. The board signs off, the file is closed, the attention shifts, but accountability doesn't. If this changed how you think about sign-off, that's the goal. This is the day after. And next week, we'll explore what happens after oversight delegation. Pause. Because in governance, the real work starts after the signature dries.